Hi everyone, welcome back. Got me a box full of parts, and we're gonna start that final push to finish this thing. Thank you all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. But we're gonna start the final push, hopefully, fingers crossed, to getting this car done. I've got a bunch of parts, like I'd mentioned. We're gonna start bolting them on. And if we get enough parts put onto this car, we might start on the body this episode. Hopefully we can get to that point. Right now, we're just kind of still in build phase. And I got a couple more items on the front dress. I got to put the fuel pump in. I got to put the alternator on. We got to measure for belts. I got to finish the fuel line plumbing. Then we got to drop a distributor in it. Once we drop a distributor in it, it's almost ready to fire. We're gonna have to do a little bit of fan wiring. We're gonna have to put oil in the transmission. We gotta put that U-joint in the drive shaft. Like I said, there's a laundry list of things to do, but we're in the home stretch. And I really hope I can get this thing finished so that it can hopefully go on to somebody new. It'd be fantastic if somebody wants to buy this thing and maybe run it at the Icebreaker at Thompson at the end of the month. So it will be race ready by then. All you have to do is set it up. That's really not a big deal. So I got to get to work. We're just going to dive straight into it and just keep going. Making progress on the front drive. We have, I think, fingers crossed, figured out what belts we need. I found one that actually fits pretty well. Like, in order for the V-belts to actually fit on properly, they can't really go on by hand. You have to be able to kind of put it really close to the lip and then just kind of roll the motor over to get it to fit, because then you can kind of tighten it a little bit after that, right? And that's exactly what the front one does. This is, let me see, this is old. I'm not using this one because that's why. So, but I can get some numbers off of this thing. Luckily, I can still read them. This is an old Dayco. Or nope, it's a Gates. 7375. I think that's a 37.5-inch belt. Clearly, they're not exactly the size that they're listed on here. It's probably like more like 38 inches, but It's a 7375 Gates XL, and I can still get these, and they also have the other numbers here, 11A0955. So you can cross-reference that pretty well. I can probably find that anywhere. I could probably go to my local stores. I got like an AutoZone and a Napa and O'Reilly's. I got a Tractor Supply. I got everything. So hopefully I can find one. The other one I tried to get on was a 38.5. It was the same thing. I think it was a Gates 7385, and it just barely wouldn't fit. So I'm thinking that I thought that thing wasn't pressed on all the way. I'm thinking a 39.0 would probably work. So I'm probably going to go around and see if I can find a 37.5 and a 39.0 and see if I can't slide those on. And that should be done. Otherwise, I'm going to get to work with more plumbing. I got to make a few hoses, so we're going to go move to that. I got to make a fuel hose that goes over here and put the fuel pump on, but I also have to do power steering hoses. This is the old one that actually came out of this car. I made this hose, I think it might have been the second time I'd ever raced at Stafford. I went to, there's a parts supplier named, he passed away, unfortunately. His name was Bill Gaston. And his daughter, Emily, I think, still has the business going. And I bought this hose and the fittings because mine had worn through and was leaking profusely. So I was building this hose in the driver's meeting, and I was trying to put this together to get it out there. So that's a pretty fun story. It's going back on the car. It's already built. Why would I make a new one? I even have Dash 10 hose that I could build a new one out of, but I just don't feel like it. And by the way, yeah, braided hose, it will rub through eventually. So my cheap solution to that is literally zip tying cardboard to it. Cardboard will hold abrasion way better, and you can replace it. So we're going to do that and keep rolling. I've pretty much finished up whatever work I'm going to do for now because I just want to go inside and just kind of relax because it's league night. I want to make sure I get something to eat and just hang out with the family for a minute. So either way, let me show you what we've gotten done here. Front drive is all lined up, apparently. It looks lined up. And plumbed. Got all the hoses and everything for the power steering system hooked up. I know that there's GM, I forget what the hell type they are, but it's like type 2, whatever, that you can buy these mini pumps, and they have the reservoir attached to like $100 on eBay. Just FYI. I also went through and put the distributor in with the spark plug wires. And I kind of want to hear it run. I don't know if that's a good idea right now, but I might try it. Oh, this is a real dumb idea. What do we got in this can? Cool, some kind of gasoline. I have so many tools and stuff on here, and I guarantee you this thing doesn't even start, but I'm so curious right now just to see that we're gonna dump some of this down our yap. Oh, that's in the thing. That's not good. Let's see if this does anything. That's enough. That's quite enough. Can you believe that? I just dumped something down its throat, set the timing, I don't know, by eye, and it lit off. That's... I'm so glad it didn't run very long. That's the fastest start. That's what I'm laughing, because this is the quickest anything I've ever owned has ever fired to life. 2 spins of that thing and it fired right off. You've got to be kidding me. All right, I think we're done here for today, guys. It runs, dude. I didn't forget. Make sure nothing falls down there and no mice decide to try to live in the motor. Back in the shop again, and we've already encountered our first issue with everything that we've already done. So you'll notice there's the remnants of a puddle on the floor here. Well, one of my fittings that I just put on is leaking. And I can see why, because it's a cheap piece of crap and it's stripped completely. If you're going to buy AN fittings, buy the good ones, like those. If you buy them with stupid names, you'll probably end up having problems. I mean, I haven't yet. This is the first one. Just looks like it wasn't seating in there properly. And I tried to crank it down, and it went righty-loosey. So I found an old push lock fitting, and I just jammed the hell out of it so it'll never come apart. And tighten it down just to be safe with a hose clamp. And this will be in the aluminum pile. If this fitting on the box is the problem because it's not machined properly, I think we got a spare at the other shop I can go dig up off the shelf, and we'll just replace that. Other than that, I went to the auto parts store, got a few belts. We're going to give it a shot, see if they fit. Hopefully they do. One of them is the size and the same part number as what fit, so God, I hope it kind of fits. The other one is the next part number up from one that almost fit. So we'll see if they fit, and if they do, we'll take these little cardboard things off and write old car on them for reference and probably tape it to the wall. I don't know if you're like me or not, but I got stuff taped to the walls just to remember what part numbers there are. I think the rest of them might have fallen off, or maybe I just left them in my head. But I usually tape stuff to the wall if I need to remember pertinent information and part numbers for the car. After the world's shortest time lapse, this did go on. However, it's way too tight. Like, it is a guitar string when it's all the way down. So I think we're going to try the next size up, which I think is a 73.95. Give that a shot. I'll go take that back to Napa tomorrow on my day off. This should fit. I'll probably take this one and try it. It's the same part number as what fits. I know Gates makes the Napa ones, so it's, see, 73.75 is a 73.75. So hopefully it'll fit just as well as this one. We'll try it anyway, but I got to go get paint anyway tomorrow because we're getting awfully close to getting this thing put together enough to paint it. So when I run out, I'll go grab a different size belt and we'll try that one. See, this is a lot more what we're looking for. So this is definitely the right one. You have to roll. It won't go on by just trying to put it on. You got to kind of roll the motor over and hold it and roll it into the pulley. But it has to have enough play once you get it in there that it has slack. So when I take this thing and I adjust it outwards, see that? It tightens while still having adjustment left. So I can go this much further. That's what we're looking for, but that's not what... Uh-oh, I lost it already. That's not what I get out of this one, so we're going to try another one. So we'll just continue on with plumbing and electrical stuff. So I got to get a fan wired up, which I actually wired this fan up for my other car because I was going to use it as a spare, but it's got this waterproof connector on it. So I'll just go dig out the kit for waterproof connectors. Probably make a new ground cable because this one's hooked to this upper here. I got to run a fan wire, and I have to replace the hose that has to go from the fuel shutoff to the fuel pump. Oh, forgot. I got to get some. Oh, wait a minute. I was thinking I had to put an order in for a. Oh no, I do have to put an order in because I don't have the right part, but I do have fittings. So I have to get a Dash 8 fuel inlet fitting for my carburetor because I tried to make something work. It's clearly not going to work. We're just going to have to put a fitting on it. But I forgot I actually do have fittings for that. So I guess I got to make another order from Amazon. Oh well. I'm slowly coming to the realization that this is getting finished. It's taking me a bit to kind of come to terms with it, but it's really just undeniable at this point. I mean, I goofed up the fan wiring. I made it a little too long to the plug, but the plug works, the fan works, the radiator hoses are on. We got one belt. The alternator is hooked up and plugged in. All I need is really to finish up under the engine compartment. I need this fitting and this fitting, which will be here tomorrow. I used I think it was a Dash 8, but it was PTFE line, which kind of screwed me up. I'm used to this kind of big hose, but it's plastic something there or other. It's literally just a feed line for fuel. I don't think PTFE affects or is affected by fuel. I will research that, and if that's the case, that's coming back out. But look at this thing. We're one belt and two fittings away from being completely done under the hood. We even got the line hooked up to that. Everything is run all the way back to the fuel cell. Hopefully that foam will be in next week. All I have to do is rivet the switch box to the car so that it won't move. And by the looks of it, one of them came loose. So I'm going to have to repair it and then rivet it down. And I'm going to have to lube the wiring, clearly. But guys, controls, plumbing, electrical, everything that needs to be run, plumbed, or hooked up, except for those little things, I think it's done. Like I said, it's really kind of surreal to even look at this thing and think of it even being close to race ready again. And the fact that if I had some gas, a belt, and two fittings, I could put wheels on this car and drive it around my yard. That's how done this thing really is. I mean, I'd have to put water in it, but semantics. So now I'm looking at the list and I'm like, golly, we're this close from a body. And I'm wondering, should we start on that? Because that really kind of needs to be done. I'm going to have to bend one bumper. I have one pre-bent that's been kind of hiding over here. Let me take a quick look over this thing and just make sure that we're not missing anything. And then we're going to fasten some stuff down, put a tack weld on some crush panels, maybe just start dragging body panels in here. I found this old lid at the other shop. Somebody hand painted the old Edelbrock letters on there. All right. Which one of you did it? Which one of you had the carburetor fire and then kept pumping it and it burnt your carburetor to the ground? That's bad. Look at that. Torched. See? Told you it was carbon from backfires. I got a little froggy. I put the air cleaner assembly on completely. I got the shocks going on. I still got to drill the blowers just so I can have those fit, but I'm trying to figure out where. But I think I'm just going to call it because we've made so much progress. So I guess we'll just move to the back of the car and continue on with the mechanical aspect of it. We'll get the diff cover pulled off. We'll pull the spider gears out of that rear and put a mini spool in it because I'm kind of building it for Thompson. And, well, last time I tried open rear, it didn't really work out. Wasn't really happy with it. Didn't go very well. Put a locked rear back in it, fixed a few things, and it figured it out pretty well. So, we'll get back there and fix that. Get greasy and disgusting. And hopefully check that one off the list, and we don't have to really look at a heck of a lot more after that. I'm trying to figure out what to do next, and basically it's whatever parts show up. All right, mini spool installed. I was gonna actually do it right. These are mini spool gears, sets, whatever, for a 7.5-inch GM rear, which that is, except that's that really stupid carrier that's very, well, let's just say it's not very well used. And there's a reason for that. It's the one window, I think they call those. They're terrible. You can't do anything you want with them. They're very short on parts. And if you want a mini spool that you can remove, they are more expensive than the regular one. So I just burned about 1 pound of wire in from the old titanium. And I'm going to let it cool off. Goop the cover, slap the oil right back where it came from, and be done with it. I got the remnants of whatever I poured back into the rear end dripping back through the tiny little orifice that's on that funnel. Yeah, I know there's RTV on the outsides of those things, but I thought they were leaking from there, so I just did it in case. Apparently they weren't, but that's okay. You can leave it. Rear end has been set up. Both sides roll the same direction, which will help. I got some oil in it. Brakes are on it. Suspension's in it. Done. We just got to loom some wires. Paint, clearly. Get the shocks put in. Finish this geometry at some point. Put one belt in. Put these two fittings on. And this car will be... Oh, I mean, I got to put the sway bar in, but I have all the bolts and hangers, and see, I got this thing for it and everything. That's not even a consideration at this point. But mechanically, the car is done. Oh, it is actually smoky in here now because of the Lincoln locker I put in the rear end. But I never thought I would see this day. I genuinely believe that this car was doomed to be rotting in my backyard until I decided to give it away to somebody or scrap it, or somebody came and rescued it, or whatever the case may be. But it's here. Yeah, there's a lot of used parts in this thing. And sure, it's all stuff I've used before, except for yeah, it's got new brakes on it, front and rear. The rotors are a little rusty, but that's not so bad. The springs are new, I just wasn't using them. The alternator's new. The exhaust is new. The air cleaner is new. The radiator was used, but it's fine. I had it in the trailer as a spare. You know, there's so much, there's like half new and half used. And it's just, I'm standing back just kind of looking back in awe at this car and thinking to myself, I never thought I'd see this day. And here it is. Tomorrow, the car will be 100% mechanically finished. Mechanically. That means all the suspension will work. The driveline will work. All the controls are going to work. All the plumbing, all the hydraulics, everything necessary to make this car race ready will work. And I hope that stuff comes early, so I'm not sitting here waiting all day for it. At any rate, I think tomorrow, once we get the little things buttoned up, we're going to start digging the body out. We need to get started on that as early as possible. So I'm going to go get a good night's sleep, get the gear oil smoke out of my lungs, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, guys, it's my day off. I've run my errands for the day, and we've made a lot of progress, and we're going to do some really cool stuff here. Chief among which is getting the correct belt. I probably could do it the 74-0. Again, they go in size. Like, this is technically like a 37.5. The one that I just got is like a 39.5. Granted, they are a little bit bigger. You know, it's like the 40 and an eighth or something like that. So it's close to whatever the part number is. I probably could have gone with a 7400. But this is the belt on. There we go. Okay, actually, you know what? I think this one's fine because this is pretty floppy, right? I would agree. You would agree? This one's a little more floppy, but oh, it's also on the wrong one apparently. I don't know how the hell it got over there. It's supposed to be on this one. It's on that one. All right, so the belts, we're gonna tighten these up like that. Those should be good to go. I'll save these part numbers for whoever ends up with the car. That way at least you got a reference. And then I got the heat going under the car, warming it up, because I bought paint. We are at the point right now where we can start thinking about the body. Some of this probably won't get painted, like these crush panel areas here. This probably has to come off. I don't even know if that'll fit. But the regular cage and interior tins are gonna get painted. Like I said, these crush panels may change. I welded them in when I first did the tin work. I don't know why. I rivet everything now. But that's okay. We're gonna clean this thing up. We're gonna vacuum it out. We're gonna wipe it down. We're gonna get all the garbage and tools and all sorts of other stuff out of here. Cover up the seat. Cover up whatever we don't want getting painted, and then we're just gonna fog this thing black and we're gonna hit the track. Cinderella here's got a new dress on. I'm not the greatest painter, and you know, sometimes some stuff doesn't need to be painted. This little strip here, I don't really know what's going to happen with the new body, so I'm just kind of holding off on that. It could be just a waste of paint. And this is still wet, so it doesn't look the best, but look at that, huh? She looks like a completely new car. Over there, door panel, that's going to be covered up by padding, so who cares? Over here, this is going to be covered up by a door, so who cares? Over here, we got some, like I said, crushed paneling that we don't know if it's going to hang around or not. This might come off too, so we didn't paint that. Over here, this was painted black when I did this clip, so I went over it and just kind of cleaned it up. There was a little bit of white overspray. There's probably a little bit of black overspray on pretty much everything now, but for the most part, repainting this thing is pretty much done. There's a couple little places I do want to clean up, like in here on the inside of this bar. It looks like there's going to be a little bit because the door padding doesn't come all the way up and it looks unsightly. But the cockpit's done. The roof's done. Everything's done. I'm just waiting for it to dry. And then we can start working on the body. I'm also still waiting on Amazon to show up. It's about 1:30, 2 o'clock right now, so I'm waiting for them. I got 2 fans going, circulating air around in here, and it's pungent. So I think I'm gonna get out, get a breath of fresh air and a drink, wait for this to dissipate, and start hauling parts back in here. Here's our fallen soldiers. We're about 4 cans into this thing. And how much we got in this one? About 1/3 of a can. So I got about 1 can and 1/3 left of this paint. So we'll figure out what to do with that once we, well, actually, I know what we're going to do with it. We're going to touch up all of these crushed panels when we either replace or put the roof on. And once we get the roof on and situated, everything will go straight on. As I navigate the disgusting, swampy mud and frost and thaw, how would you guys like to see the body that I'm putting on it? It's a used body. The stickers can come off. Oh God, don't step there. Huh? Yes, I know, like I said, it's a used body. It's a Camaro body from AR. Ryan Waterman, a competitor and a buddy of mine, he hooked me up with it for a pretty good price, considering these bodies are like $3,000 brand new. I paid a fraction of that, so thanks to him. I gotta do a little repair work here and there. Nothing really major though, honestly. Any fiberglass repair I was gonna make is probably just gonna be a couple rivets with a piece of aluminum behind it, and then I'll probably paint some 5-minute epoxy over it and hope for the best. Stuff like this. So this body's been around a couple years, minimum 2, because it went to Riverhead, then it went to Monadnock, clearly. Then it went to also Star Speedway, which is New Hampshire, New York. So there's a little piece missing here. What I'll do is I'll spread that out, paint some 5-minute epoxy in it, squeeze her back together in the right spot, and maybe put a little bit of aluminum and rivet that in there just to hold that up. Another little piece here I'm gonna just glue back on. Shouldn't be too big a deal. I'll reinforce that. See, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know where the body's gonna sit, you know? I think minimum roof height is like 49 inches. Don't quote me. This was made for a much longer flat roofed Monte Carlo style roof that is approximately 51, I think was the ride height or minimum or whatever. I think Stafford, I made it for Stafford. But we'll probably end up having it be close to that. But I think I'm just gonna do what I did here and just hack these off. I don't think it's gonna fit on top of it because it's completely different. But like I said, we're gonna basically just put it together. Oh, there's a rivet I gotta get rid of. There's a little piece there that needs some doing. Got a bumper panel, got a hood. The hood needs the most work. This is a little damaged. We'll figure out where that piece went. Just kind of put that back together. This side looks fine. This is real tore up. Wow. So I'll find some Maybe I'll get some aluminum and just kind of stick that over that and just spray paint it red. This doesn't look so bad. Again, another piece that needs a little work. Front cowl is largely similar. Doesn't look too bad. Just all pieces that need kind of just fixing and putting back together. I did buy rivets for this. I bought red rivets because I'm not painting this thing. This thing's gonna be red, and that's totally fine. So I'm gonna shut the door, get that dehumidifier working again, make sure that this thing is, well, you know what? This is the last part I touched, and it's not tacky. So we're gonna start just kind of wiping her down because my shed has a giant hole in the roof, and I put shed very lightly. We'll get that fixed, wiped off, start peeling stickers, start epoxying things together, just whatever needs to be done. Also, I do have the glass for this thing. Keen-eyed observers may have seen it over here when I had the motor on the stand. I moved them over here, and they're behind this one to keep them safe. I'll probably have to buff on them a little bit just to get them back right, but it does have front and rear glass, which is cool. And I believe Ryan still has the windshield post, so I gotta go get those from him. So I'm sitting here dinking around on the body, trying to figure out what's gonna have to happen. Like, I need to take out the dash, and we're gonna need to make a new panel for that, I'm pretty sure. And I'm gonna have to make some kind of an upright situation in the front so that I can brace the body back here. What I got going on is I put this quarter roof on, I guess. I got a whole bunch of epoxy going on because, well, that needs to be done. That was a hole. That's literally painter's tape behind it that's holding that together. I got some other stuff epoxying. I got this piece here that's dribbling all over the place. I got this one here that really was missing. So I got that kind of glued together. This I just took and I put a piece of aluminum behind it and riveted it in place, which is pretty much what I'm gonna do to the hood because I don't feel like spending $300 on a new one. I'll fix the skid plates. Wherever there's a crack, there'll be aluminum behind it with rivets on either side, and that'll be enough. So as I'm dinking around with the epoxy and slabbing stuff onto the car, I look down here, I'm like, I still haven't got my parts yet. So I went to pick up my camera and make a video, and, well, notification pops up. My front door camera went off. And my stuff came in. So I was going to quit for the night, but since I have my stuff, now I can make this car 100% functional. There it is. All of the plumbing, all of the wiring, all of the tubing, hoses, mechanicals, exhausts, suspension, except still gotta drill a hole for those. Don't mind that. Body's going on. Interior's painted. Look at that, it looks really good. We'll retouch some parts when we have to. Now we just gotta work on the body, which we're currently doing, duh. But we gotta do a couple of things. Chief among which is gonna be the crush panels. And we're gonna have to do the dashboard as well. Once we get the roof fitted to where we want it and we get it on straight, right? And we get everything that holds the roof on properly, then we can work our way down. I already know that we're gonna need to do the dashboard. Like I said, we're gonna need crush panels in the back, not a huge deal. Have a huge pile of sheet metal right here. We're also gonna have to adjust the front. Now, that's probably gonna entail taking off this piece here and putting up a new piece on the front, at least for bracing and hood pins and radiator support and whatever else we have to do. We're also gonna have to bend a new front bumper. That was already kind of a given. We already knew that was gonna have to happen. We got other little things here and there to do, but we're really making progress, and I'm very pleased with that. However, I can't really do anything now because still waiting on the epoxy to dry so that I can start putting more body panels together so that I can figure out where to go next. So I'm gonna let that epoxy dry, probably make a few phone calls, let that do its thing, and I'll see you tomorrow. Back in the shop, already itchy from fiberglass work. But again, we're still coming up with plans, and it's starting to develop now because I didn't have much clue of what really to do before. But now it's like, okay, now we're starting to see the picture kind of come together. Let me at least show you a little bit of what I mean. So for the front here, I was gonna take out the dashboard here and just make a new one. But then I realized I could just make a little panel that's a right angle flange to up to a right angle flange to meet this. Go all the way across, cut out the section where my brake master cylinders are so that I can access them. Then probably put like little T-stanchions up here to hold it in place, maybe rivet it down. So that'll hold the front. This thing's actually kind of where it needs to be. It looks really good. I held up the fenders, front and rear, to see where they were in relation to the axle. It looked pretty centered. In the back here, we're gonna have to pull this riveted one out because that meets up with a more of a Monte Carlo style roof. This clearly a little different, but this is going to be a rectangle. So I'll do another little angled flange up to an angled flange right here. And underneath, the body brace is probably going to have to come out because it's not quite there. So I'm going to leave this one in place for now, holding it up because I got blocks of wood and stuff holding it in place. Or do I? Because this one's underneath. We'll figure that out in a minute. But I'm going to figure out that first, then run another one of these bars. I'll probably clamp it to the body, measure it, and weld in new stanchions, and then cut this one off and have that hold the rear of the roof up. Then once we get that figured out, then we'll cut the new piece out of whatever sheet metal we got laying around, flange it on the bender, drill the holes for these, rivet everything together, and then we can start at least getting crush panels, whatever else we need in. I'm cautiously optimistic, but it looks as though it's starting to come along. I don't really know, because I could be building these stanchions in the back and it be completely wrong. But I'm looking up underneath, and yeah, I mean, I did put it on the factory roof height things so that it would possibly pass roof height. And I'm kind of worried about it, but at the same time, I'm like just kind of looking it over, and it's like, it doesn't look that much taller than what it was. So I built all these brand new uprights. I mean, I left the one there in the front. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of them. I got 4 of them here, but like these things don't weigh anything. I mean, I cut one out, and it's like I can literally do this and just kind of do whatever I want with it. It's 1/2-inch tubing. It's really not that much. So there's not a heck of a lot of weight to it, but I only would have gone with like one, but since there's this shelf here and it's in 2 pieces, there's a flanged edge here and a flanged edge here, I figured for stability, yeah, that's probably necessary. And then I needed something to hold the rear bumper cover and that down with. So there's that. I made this little interior panel. I'm going to have to make something to cover up these holes because remember the clip used to be bent and then I straightened it out and now those things fit. Weird, right? So anyway, that looks pretty good. This looks pretty square. I mean, it looks pretty even on the frame rails and stuff. It's going pretty well. I think the back, other than just fastening it, is pretty well done. Now I can start to turn my attention to the front, making sure that this is straight as well. And we're gonna start working on this panel next and any uprights that need to tie it in here. That's gonna be the hard part because I gotta make sure I have a panel up here so I can access all of my brake parts and all that stuff. And that's gonna be kind of a pain, but then again, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I got reverse mount pedals. It's tough either way, but I mean, like I said, I don't plan on hanging on to the car. I do want to sell it, but I don't want to sell it as a pile of junk. I want to sell it as something that's respectable, that somebody can just hop in, fire it up, and go have the time of their life. Because that's what I did. That's what this car gave me. Gave me the time of my life, and that was very special to me. And won a handful of races with her, ran all over the place from Waterford to Stafford. Ran a road course. No, that was my brother's car I ran the road course race with. I built that one too, but that's the one we're working on to go to New Hampshire with. So this thing is coming along. Crush panels won't be too difficult. It's just this front dash piece that's going to be a little bit of a pain, but to be honest with you, once you start measuring and bending and fastening and cutting and getting all that stuff kind of just placed in, it's not too bad. So I don't know if I'll be out here tomorrow, but if I am, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, guys, we're back on the final day that I can work on this thing, and I've come to an uncomfortable realization. This is our problem area right here. And I wouldn't know that it was going to be a problem unless I had like some kind of gantry to hold this thing on and like measure it at heights and do all sorts of technical stuff. But as you can see, I can barely walk through here. So that's kind of difficult to do. My problem rests in the fact that the rear of the roof is actually too high. Because I looked back here and I tried to set this as level as possible. And I noticed that when I put the rear bumper cover up to meet where the trunk lid is, it's sitting like on the top of this frame rail. And that's a little bit too high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in here and at least take a look at how much I can drop this roof. And it looks like the back can come down a little bit, but I don't want it to be any lower than the front. I want it to be even because the hoop is going to be even with the frame. So if I drop the back too far, then that's going to look weird because it's going to look like this going down the racetrack. We all know what that looks like if you saw my Stafford testing video, which hopefully I remember to put a link up to that up here. So I'll give it a measurement, see how much is on the front and the back. Front looks like actually it's touching. Yeah, it's touching on the corners here. Yep, that's touching. All right, so I'll make sure it's got the same heights. We'll measure. And then to cut it, I'm thinking it's going to be about an inch, right? Inch and a half. So if I take some tape, like some masking tape, like this, if that's the height that I need, what I'll do is I'm going to have to wrap every single one of these all the way around and cut it, drop it, and then re-weld it here, here, and on all these stanchions here in order to get the heights right because, like I said, too high in the back. One inch of cutout on this really made a lot of difference. It's really not sitting up as high as it would be normally. It's not bad. I held the bumper cover up and the bottom of the cover is pretty much at the bottom of this right here. So that's as high as I really want to go with that. So this is pretty well tied in the back. Now, we're going to have to do a little bit of positioning to get this correct. We're also going to need to flatten the bends out on this tin here to try to get that right. And once I do, that shelf should be pretty well done. Then we got to focus our attention up front and how we're going to mount the front, because this is really going to be a pain. I don't know what the heck we're going to do here. I really don't want to go through and have to redo my firewall in order for this thing to fit, because that would take a lot of fabricating, and that would be just a tremendous amount of effort. And man, I don't know if I have the time. I don't know if I can do that right now. So we'll have to figure that out ASAP, because I don't have a lot of time left to work on this thing today. Okay, guys, not much has changed here, but we have developed a plan for the front. I'll show you that in a second. But this body, we're at the point right now where all the difficult math is kind of finished. I got her fastened on the back edge. I'm going to need to fasten it in the middle edge. I got to put this crush panel in and then paint everything. We got to put these side crush panels in. We've showed you that already. I've told you all that stuff. We got to do that over here too. We have front stanchions done. I've got these hooked in so that the front of the body is going to be really solid. It shouldn't move. All we have is we're going to be putting in the dash panels. We got to figure out a panel for that brake situation there so that we can access it, and the side crush panels. But that is going to have to wait for another video. But I've run out of time, so that's going to have to do it for this week. Next week, we'll hopefully be finishing up the body. We'll be doing a bunch of front end work here. I got an idea for that. Front dash panel, crush panels, everything I've already mentioned 10 times in this video. You'll see it next week. But we got to get this thing the heck out of here, because I got to get my other car. This is the old car. I got to get the new car back in here so that we can get that finished. Racing season's coming up awful fast, and we got some very big plans for this year. And I got some sponsors that are very good people who I don't mention to anywhere near as much as I should. If you're in the Connecticut area, go see Northeast Truck and Off-Road on Gales Ferry, Connecticut on Route 12. I'll put a little thing at the bottom for them, because they are a paying sponsor, and they're a big paying sponsor, and I really need to give them the recognition that they deserve, and I feel like I'm going to do that now. So we are going to attempt to finish up this body next week. Like I said, the hard part's over. This and all the maths and all the just looking into stuff, this is the hard part, is trying to get the base set. Next week, hopefully it'll go a little quicker. Tell your friends if you think they'd enjoy stuff like this. Like I said, I'm not a very big YouTuber in any way. I wish I was, because then I'd get a little bit of income coming in. But otherwise, I know a bunch of people, I know I'm going to riff here for a second, but a lot of people who get into the automotive YouTube stuff, and trust me, I wish people really just understood that YouTube and its platform is really the last bastion of the automotive hobby, because the TV side's kind of going away, the magazine side's kind of going away. It's just guys like me who want to give away all the lifetime of knowledge that we've acquired and share in our adventures along the way. And you know what? I feel like I have a duty to people to try to do that, and to help younger guys, or maybe people who are like me who want to get interested in it, to learn something and to show them that it's entirely possible. And I hope that this channel does that, and that's where subscribers kind of come in. And like I said, it doesn't cost you anything. Click of a button and kind of go along on the journey with me, and hang out and watch the progress unfold. And I appreciate every single one of you, and hopefully next week we'll have this thing finished. But until next time.